NVIDIA's recent release of the RTX 4060 Ti went, well, poorly. The $400 card offered barely any upgrade over the RTX 3060 Ti beyond AV1 encoding support, and let's really face it, most gamers don't really need that anyways. AMD followed NVIDIA's own goal with its own problematic launch of the RX 7600, even apparently dropping its MSRP to $270 before it ever launched. While the 7600 was undoubtedly the better received of the two cards, neither card found much favor with reviewers, and days after launch, both cards are readily available online at MSRP, something we really haven't seen from many cards at all over the past several years. Part of the problem facing AMD and NVIDIA is the existence of the used market, where good and cheap GPUs are easily available. But there's also the reclaimed market, which is what we're concerned with today. In a recent video, I took a look at a roughly $100 RX 580 8GB card. Although it was slightly cut down from the original RX 580, the card still offered good performance at an absolutely outstanding price. So today we're taking a contemporary look at the more modern cousin of that RX 580. This is a new RX 5700 XT, and this card, just like the 580, seems to be a new PCB featuring a reclaimed GPU. So the question this time is really simple. Is the gaming performance and sending a strong message to both AMD and NVIDIA that their new GPUs just aren't good enough worth the $200 asking price for the RISC 51 RX 5700 XT? Let's take a look. Now, before we get too far into this, let me know in the comments down below what GPU that you would buy, new or used, if you had exactly $200 to spend. I'm kind of curious, and I might pick one up too. So let's back up and review this 5700 XT for those of you that don't remember everything happening with this card. It was originally launched all the way back in July of 2019 for $400. Does that sound familiar, NVIDIA? Because it really should. The 5700 XT features 8GB of GDDR6 VRAM and 2560 stream processors, and unlike the reclaimed RX 580 I already dissected, this card is not cut down in any way. It has all 2560 of those stream processors, and its clock speed easily clears the advertised base clock of 1605 MHz, so nice. For the test bench today, we have the Ryzen 7 5700G paired with 32GB of DDR4 memory running at 3200 MHz, and that's in a dual channel configuration. The operating system and games are being run from an NVMe SSD, so we shouldn't see any sort of bottlenecking or choking off of performance by the SSD. All games are being run at 1440p, and the graphs are going to show the exact settings being used with that. Let's go ahead and take a look at these graphs and the gameplay and see how this card did. So first up was Overwatch at 1440p on the Ultra preset, and yeah, performance was really strong. Basically, I played the game, had a great time. The average was 150, 1% low at 107, and the 0.1% low down there at 90. And once again, really a perfect experience here, at least in Overwatch. Doom Eternal at 1440p high settings, much the same exact type of situation where there was nothing to complain about whatsoever. The frame rates were fantastic, and just like with Overwatch, you can really get into the game and just sort of forget that you're even benchmarking a card when it's playing at the graphics fidelity that was and the frame rate that it was. So another fantastic example of gameplay here. Then moving on to The Witcher 3, which undoubtedly is a more difficult title to run than both Doom or Overwatch. With FSR2 set to the quality preset and medium overall settings, the experience was really solid for a title that is not particularly fast-paced anyways. The average was 71 FPS, the 1% low at 60, and the 0.1% low at 48, and the frame pacing was really strong here. The only complaint, if you have any, would be that the frame rates aren't as high as they could be, but still, this is a good showing and way more than playable. And finally, that brings us to Hogwarts Legacy, 1440p medium settings. Once again, the average is really strong here at 65 FPS. The 1% low and 0.1% lows are a little bit below what I would like to see them at 46 and 36 respectively, but most importantly, they both stayed well above that 30 FPS threshold, where I really start to get a little bit nervous about the performance of a card. So even though the frame rates aren't as high as I would love them to be here, they are more than enough. And of course, you could always enable something like FSR if you wanted to push those frame rates a little bit higher. So with the gaming out of the way, the only other thing to check out is the actual build of this card. Unlike many of the original variants, this one is pretty much an all-plastic affair. Just like the reclaimed RX 580 card, this one was super simple to disassemble, and just like the RX 580, this card has all the right cooling where it counts. The heatsink was touching on all of the memory chips as well as the power delivery, so there shouldn't be any major issues with the card's stability as it relates to thermals and power delivery. So conclusion time, who should be looking at this card for their next build? Well, pretty much everyone, if I'm being completely honest, wanting to spend below $400 on a GPU. Okay, that might be a little bit too much to say, but this card is unparalleled for a new card in the $200 price range. It performs well and uses a recent-ish GPU, and by not being challenged by AMD or Nvidia at this price, it's actually quite a good deal, at least right now. Now, if you're interested in picking up this card for yourself, it's linked in the description down below. If nothing else, you can always check out its current pricing and availability, both of which may fluctuate quite a lot, especially because these GPUs just may not be available forever or in very large quantities. So some of these reclaimed cards might be here today, they might not be here tomorrow. As usual, if you liked the video, those like and subscribe buttons work really well too. With that, I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you all in the next video.